Hello, hello. Dot Art, we have OX Craft with us. How are you?
Hey, good night or good day or good evening to everybody, whoever you're tuned from. Hi, thank you. I'm fine. How are you today?
Very good, very good.
Yeah,
We're going to give it a few minutes for people to join.
right.
Um, and then we'll get started. I'll introduce ENS Academy because we are fairly new as well. And then I'll introduce you and your project, and we'll get started with the questions. So I think I'll start about 12:03. So we'll give it a couple of minutes.
Yeah, sure. Do we take questions from the audience as well?
Yeah, at the end we can open it up for like 5 or 10 minutes for questions. We usually when we had like a lot of attendance, like over 100 people, we would get questions. But if it's a few people, then we might not get any. So it's going to depend on the audience. But the good thing is that we can then use the same content. This will be posted on our podcast, iTunes and Spotify and YouTube. So we people will continue to benefit learning about your project using these platforms.
Definitely. I have
So this will be just an opportunity for us to record it and then we'll share it. Go ahead.
definitely. I have heard a couple of your podcasts, and yeah, it was great information. It was really great podcast, and also conveniently available as a podcast, right? So you can listen it afterwards. It's structured on Spotify. Very nice. So yeah, glad to be here today, and we can get as many questions as there would be, and if there would be none, we will still have a lot of things to uncover, right? And I'm heavily apologize for yesterday that we couldn't make like a brief call. So this is literally the first time when we speak in person, but we actually have a great news that actually covers that. I hope that I can tell you about it later today.
Oh, absolutely. No worries. Don't worry about it at all. I also have a day job and sometimes I get pulled into things. But I'm so glad we're able to make this time and meet. And I can't wait to hear your announcement. Maybe you can save that till the end and we'll celebrate together.
Yeah, we can
I see a
tailor
lot of
it in the middle somewhere.
Sure, sure, whenever you'd like. This is really to introduce you to the ENS community and discuss what you're building. So with that, let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining our talk today with the dot art protocol. We have OXCraft with us as a speaker. My name is 7147 and I'm representing ENS Academy. ENS Academy's mission is to accelerate the adoption of ENS worldwide by bringing ENS experts and entrepreneurs and builders to share their knowledge with the community. Our goal is to educate, support, and empower anyone who can benefit from this technology. Today, we have the dot art protocol. I had the pleasure of like finding out about them last week, I think on the morning update show. And I went to their website and checked out their project and reached out. I'm very excited, very impressed with the quality, at least for the marketing they have and their mission. So basically, you can mint an ENS ending with the dot art. It's the first DNS ENS zone that is supported on all browsers. So mint your domains as an NFT and trade on open market. And they also have an upcoming airdrop. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm gonna now pass it on to the dot art team and have them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about them.
Yes, thank you, thank you. It was I couldn't say better myself. That was such a nice introduction. 7147. So yes, sometimes it doesn't really digest well, but we actually represent .art domain zone, and this .art domain zone, as you know, is one of the TLDs that are on the main page of ENS domains, and this domain zone have supported ENS since 2018, and we actually like integrated in very first ENS root before everything was NFT, right? It's pre-punk basically. So most of the domains that have been minted back then, they're technically the pre-punks. But so that's been quite some time back, and I think that nowadays, like what we have changed is that we have changed our approach, and we um, we redesigned the contract up to the latest standard of ENS, and now we're allowing to use it more conveniently than it was ever possible before. So if before you have to go and do all the DNSSEC magic and kind of like do the security check that actually most of the time costs extra money on provider side, you end up like it taking a lot of time, and then you end up with minting something that is not even a non-fungible token. It's just a record. So today we're changing that, and .art now could be minted in two different methods. So it could be minted as a link to your DNS. So if you have a domain like your personal name, last name, or your project, you can mint kind of like complementary NFT, or better would be said, it's actually something similar to Soulbond token, because it's actually a link to your profile until the new owner of the domain will claim it. So this is one of the methods because that allowed to expand the area where you can use this domain by expand. So for example, we have this metaverse building that build on .art domain, and as the value proposition for them, because they're selling their floors for different exhibitions, they could actually have each floor connected to specific subdomain of the .art ENS. So there's a lot of opportunity to be unlocked, but that's just give you like just more flexibility. And the second method is identical to ETH. So we're allowing people to mint native NFTs that are fully tradable. They can use to your however you want it, and it's same resistancy that the ENS has. It couldn't be taken off by any ICANN provider or anybody of that extent. So so this is like we are betting. Why we came to this space is because we are thinking that the future is decentralized. So that's why in the future I wouldn't really like kind of like avoid the scenario where there could be more ENSs registered than DNSs at some point. So yeah, well, that's kind of like a long story short, but we can now break it into pieces and I'll talk a little bit more.
Yeah, so the two ways, so you either have a domain already, and does it have to be a .art domain?
Yes, we represent only .art.
Only .art. So if
Yes.
I have a .art DNS domain, I can come and claim like it's kind of like a token, and as long as I have that DNS until and that token is not transferable.
Yes, sir. So it's
Yeah.
similar to Soulbond that extent.
Okay.
So if it's similar, like it's easier to understand because it's DNS always a master of this NFT because it's run by ICANN, right? So those names are run and organized by ICANN. So we couldn't we can't make the situation where your NFT could be traded, separately from your domain. So this is impossible. So we did
Right.
it Soulbond technique.
Soulbound. This is really kind
Soulbond.
of, yes, this is cutting edge, really. It's pretty exciting that you guys are using that technology already. But I want to understand more. And that soulbound token, that serve as a decentralized website?
Yes. Yeah, you can
Okay, okay.
basically that would only depends on to which resolver you call. So if you use your Chrome, then it will by default will talk to ICANN resolvers, and it will give you the website from DNS, right? But if you apply the plugin, or if you use the Brave, or if you use something similar that allow you to choose which resolver you call to, then you can call exactly the same name, but it will load you the different network.
Okay, perfect. And then when I sell the DNS domain, the new owner can then claim the same soulbound token because it's
Yes,
associated with the DNS. Okay,
exactly,
perfect.
exactly. Yes.
And the other way was to actually mint new tokens
Mhm.
based on your .art domain. And those you can trade.
The other method is just mint any token. So you can mint anything that is not possible on DNS. For example, negatives or cash tags or
Mm-hmm.
emojis. So everything that is impossible on DNS, basically we expanding that to Web3, and that could be done only on Web3, and it work similar to ENS, and it's also supported by exactly same network. So just today we have minted a first NFT, and we already see it's like working in the MetaMask Trust Wallet, like you name it, because it's the protocol. So it's protocol of ENS protocol. So that should be seamless.
Right. So that's where ENS comes in. It's when
Mm-hmm.
you mint the non-supported DNS names, you then rely on the ENS protocol.
Basically, you in both cases you mint ENS name. The
Ah,
only difference that in the first cases is kind of like run by DNS as the master, but in the second
got it.
scenario, it's only run by
And that
ENS
one
as
you
a
can
protocol. Yeah,
transfer it, and that one you can sell it and transfer
yeah,
it.
yeah. This one
Perfect.
have like exactly similar to ETH in that sense. Yeah. It's very hard to adjust, but we're kind of like pioneers in this particular case because there was none other TLD zone have done this integration before. So we have to come up with everything and solve this puzzle. And this one was one of the best solution that we can make. And we also um, uh, we also got some technical support from Nick Johnson from ENS protocol, and he was very helpful, giving us a couple of advices of how we can how we should better like unroll that and yeah, basically
Nice.
that's it pretty much.
Yeah,
We
I'm
don't think
very
there is any
excited.
better solution so far.
Yeah, I don't I this is the first time I've seen this, and I think based on how you do, a lot of other uh projects will start coming to copy you. So I'm very excited for you to see how well you do in this, and I will be supporting you guys. And so tell me, let's take a step back. Tell me first about Dot Art and your mission, aside from this coming mint and all of that. What is really your mission in this space, and what is Dot Art?
Oh yeah, actually that's a great question. We started from the wrong place. So the dot art started in 2016 as the domain zone, when there was a lot of domain zones started at that time, and since then like there was 220,000 domains registered until now. And I think like we were analyzing like who is registering those names and how is it like fits into the global picture, and we realized that it's a pretty interesting social capital, because the thing is that the dot art is free from like geographic and political constraints. So this domain is actually something that symbolizes that you belong to the special group, and this special group is artists, creators, developers, people who associate themselves with art or somehow associate themselves with the creativity or any of that extent. We have huge names that kind of like uh, book their names on dot art, and some of them are using that as standalone website, like Mercedes Benz using their dot art domain for telling about the art side of their project, which is like a great way of using it. Amazon using their dot art domain to just simply point people to their art department. So there is a differently like there is a unique social capital, and then it's also interesting because it's fairly like um, fairly good working with both generations. So for it works with museums and like all the art associations around the world, and then at the same time all the new NFT projects and new cool tools and softwares are also building on .art domain. And we're that's the second group that I mentioned is also our pretty close close peers that we are working with, and this expansion is kind of like contributing to this like a whole system overall, because what they will get is now they can expand their business into Web3, and they could also come to ENS space with our solution for names. So this is something that why we have started it, and like today we see that our goal is basically to empower creators. That's why we decided to make this whole expansion into Web3, because our audience is very demanding. It's the creators, it's people who live on the edge, so they want to try new things, and we want to be actually like pioneering that and be there for people who chose .art for their whatever they're using it for. So yeah, so basically that's in the core mission. We're running charity programs, we're running like art therapy programs. There's different kind of like associations that art is involved in. Just basically 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, we had this event with the Bullhound in London, where we award the best digital art project in the space on behalf of investor community. So like a lot of things of that degree we are doing, and that's like our mission is to kind of like be the registrar for art related projects and help them the best we can.
I think that's powerful. I mean, art is really the fruit of civilization, and the fact you guys are doing charity work and trying to support every artist globally is very inspiring. I'm not an artist, but I admire artists. I love art, and I think that's what NFTs are all about. It's about also to kind of give power back to the artists. And so your cross section between this top level domain and also now doing this mint is really perfect, because you're giving control back to the domain holder, and then having a website on IPFS using your ENS is you're going to be censorship proof and censorship resistant, and it's very exciting aspect of it. Can you tell us more about that piece?
Yeah, I think this is just something that belongs to ENS overall, like as a community, as a protocol, because the centralized website, like if you compare the centralized website with Tor and Darknet, so the Darknet and Tor even in combination, it were still more like less resistant than the ENS in combination with decentralized storage, because then you have to, like, if in dark web you could take control of the server, on the centralized web you can't really take control of the server. So that's the best part of it, and I think that it's very underlined, and nobody so far understand like the whole value that it's actually unlocking, because it's much more resistant, because if to ban ENS that link to IP like IPFS decentralized storage, you it's too much work. You have to ban the whole Ethereum, and then you have to ban the whole, like it's going to be difficult. So they have to come up with like a lot of like hooks and like tricks and whitelist, blacklist, whatever. So it's not very convenient. So I think that the idea is that it's not being used heavily to do anything illegal or anything of that extent. So it's so perfectly fine. But if they're like the whole resistant, like the whole censorship of this bundle is much more stronger in my understanding.
Yeah, and it definitely gives us all control, and having the protocol, so like the governance so transparent, also a great aspect of ENS. Um, so yeah, that's very exciting to know. Tell us a little bit more about upcoming mint, and what should we know about that? What do we expect?
So honestly, like we thinking that the mint will be soon, but we don't know when exactly. The date that we had on the website, probably, even though everything is ready, we don't know if we should fulfill it, because the current situation is that we need to do a good educational piece before we will start the mint, because um, we want to kind of like prepare people for, so they understand what actually happens without like putting too much stress on the system. We spoke to ENS representatives, and uh, I think closer to the end of this month, beginning of December, we will start official campaign together to explain people what we do and how this will affect, or like how it will kind of benefit the whole system overall. And yeah, so for now we're discussing the plan and how it should be done, because we don't want to kind of like put too much stress on the system by because a lot of investors that we spoke to, like peer to peer, they might be afraid of just like do not understanding how come like domain zone could come to the ENS, like how does it work, who can do it. So it's not that easy, right? and um, and they have to understand like what's the proposition of this whole thing, that TLDs are coming to ENS. That's like just one big proof that ENS is alternative to the DNS at that sense. So for the community overall, I think that's a huge boost. But we don't want to, like, we want to educate people well before the mint will begin. So I would aim for the beginning of the year or December. It very depends on how the schedule will do and how much traction we will get in this period. But we will give everybody a good heads up, like a couple of weeks before the mint will start, definitely. And then I think the good idea would be learn like what kind of expansion, like what kind of words you can register on ENS versus what kind of words you can register only on DNS. So that's what's up.
I really like your approach. I mean, it was definitely confusing to me, and I had to meet with you. Like, this is why we're having this space, is to break this down and introduce this to the community. And I feel like what your approach to create more content and educate the community on how this works, what it is, the value proposition. I really like that, and I look forward to everything you do. I think you have a great project at hand, and it's going to inspire many, many more domain zones to join. Um, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about anything else that you want to share with us. I think we covered a lot. And I also have a couple more questions. I'll leave that till the end. Is there a bit more technical about how would the domains look like? So would it be 7147.art.eth, or if it's and I know we discussed there's two different types, and so if I do buy a DNS first, then how would that look like? And also, I want to talk about if I do have these, can I create subdomains? So we could talk about that, but I want to give you an opportunity now to talk about anything you want to share with us and the community moving forward.
Yes, I thank you. I think, yeah, we can get to your questions. They're nice questions. This is exactly why we're doing this spaces. So I want to share with the community probably like two things before we move forward. So first thing, that just yesterday I got confirmation from ENS DAO that our contract was redeployed or updated, and basically today we're already on NFT standard. So far the Oracle is closed, so nobody can mint the domain names yet. But we already tested it, and answering to one of your question, you can mint. It's just .art. There is no ETH. It's just .art. It's used. You can use it in MetaMask, Trust Wallet, OneInch Wallet, almost everywhere where you can use ETH. And now it's on an NFT standard. So now you can bring it to every third party that works with ENS. For example, they do the decentralized websites, or they do the social media, like they do with like subdomain, kind of like network. Come there, sign with your NFT, and you're good to go. You can use the service from your DNS domain, which is like which empower DNS users. But at the same time, you can also mint just the triple emojis as the NFT and so on. And that's like first thing that probably want to say, that now we're on and we're looking to start integrating into marketplaces and everything like that before the mint. So our website actually won't crash. You have more than one place where you can mint the domain. Like it's going to be like 5-6 websites that going to support the mint. So going to be fine. The second thing is that if you look at the data, which is super exciting, like if you look at .com history, like if you look at .com bubble, you won't be able even to see it on the map, because basically if you just look at the numbers from from the 90s when it were created until 2020, there were 100 million domains, 100 million .com domains were registered for 30 years. And in the last 2.5 years, or just 2.5 years, we are already at 150 million domains registered. So twice, like almost 1.5 times the amount that were registered in the last 30 years. So what I mean by that is that we're so early, and the situation, why is it happening, is that when it was 90s, people were registering their names because they were thinking it needs for business. You need like pet.com because you're going to sell something for pets or whatever it is. But eventually that moved forward, and everybody need their name for their project, for their event, for their, I don't know, like deep, like for a degree, or like some kind of like a workshop, like whatever they do. And that became like a mainstream. Now it's like almost second of your, like every project start with the domain name as the brand, as the identity, and so on. So what I mean by that is that in Web3, it's accelerates even faster. So now you need the names for objects, you need the name for your DAO, you need the name for your multi-sig wallets. Like I am on like maybe 10 or 15 multi-signature wallets. Like would be nice if they all have like ETH names, to be honest. So that stuff is like on steroids. And and we need more than one zone. So basically it's a great example, as you said, like we're setting this example for other domain TLD, like top level domain zones, to join ENS and update their contracts to the latest standards and start like providing more services and kind of like be on the same step with the rest of the community. So we can move probably to the questions. I think that would be enough for now.
Yeah, I 100% I agree with you. Everything now needs a name. And I see the utility being unlocked especially with ENS, like it's going to be unmeasurable. But it's really hard like your house address can have an ENS now, and then you can have subdomains for whether it's your bills or whatever you want to organize around your house. Your car can have an ENS name, and then you can have subdomains for the service dates that you service the car. And now everything is recorded on the blockchain, right? And like you said, it's going to be an explosion that we're preparing for. And I think you are one of the pioneers that we will all look at and see how you did things so that we can build the future together. I'm really excited about that. So, yeah, thank you so much for that insight. I really like your vision. And my questions were simply that. Okay, so now, congratulations that you got approved. So now I can have ensacademy.art, and then that will resolve on MetaMask, right? So that's what you're saying.
Yes, sir. If you mint it, you don't even need to assign it as your primary. It will just be one of your aliases, so you can immediately use it.
That's perfect. And so I'll definitely be minting a few .art domains. And is it only one more question I had was, so if I don't have the DNS ensacademy.art, I can still mint DNSacademy.art as a ENS? If
So yeah, so your question. So technically speaking, you can mint it as the ENS if there would be something that distinguish it from DNS. So negative or
so
cache tag.
so I can't, if there is a website ensacademy.art already owned by someone, then that I cannot mint as an NFT. Correct? So it
Absolutely
has.
right. You have to
Okay,
own the
okay.
DNS, right?
Okay, got it. Perfect. Okay. So I'm glad we can clarify that for the community. And anything is free game when it comes to domains that are not supported by ICANN or by the current DNS structure.
I think it's up to the community, right? So we're in compliance with ICANN standard. So we did the good homework of understanding all the legal implications of doing anything of that degree, and we understand that we fully complied. And I think that we should just kind of like put the line. So if it's a DNS, yes, it's like just run by different organization. If it's ENS, it's run by ENS. So and there where we can put the line when eventually it could be so that ENS would outperform the DNS, as I said earlier, and we could see that, and then maybe that's the future that we are all looking at too. So I think that's just a matter, like we should give it a try, and we should always support this kind of like new initiatives, especially if you think about the whole potential of decentralized website, that you don't even need the whole structure of DNS. It's kind of like mind blowing, honestly. So the future is bright, and the future is like the censorship resistant. So I and that's kind of like our goal, to kind of like fulfill this mission from our side.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about that, and thank you for doing what you're doing. I see we have some questions from the community. You c- 010-1.eth if you want to request to speak, or I can just read your question out loud. But I'll go ahead and get started. And then if anyone else has questions, please go ahead and request now. So 0-1 had a question. He says, will it be possible to mint a domain such as 123.art or abc.art, not just like $, or dash or minus or negative .art, and be only an ENS, not controlled by DNS ICANN? I think we just touched on that. The second question he has, when a .art is minted, what contract does it interact with? ENS contract? I think yes. Is there
Correct.
a list of dApps compatible with .art? Is there a list of decentralized apps that are compatible?
In our
So yeah.
documents, yes.
Oh, perfect. So in your document, so if on your websites they can go and see what is compatible already.
Yes, in the doc section, we listed all the top wallets that supports .art for now, but long story short, basically all the ENS
Yes, because
infrastructure
now you.
kind of like should support the thing.
Absolutely. So anything that supports ENS will work with .art. So that's the answer for that. And to answer the first question, is it possible to have 123.art and have it completely this not associated with the DNS?
Yes, it's a great question. So technically not possible right now, because DNS is still run by ICANN, and you can't destroy the domain. So it's always going to be linked to domain, and domain name have expirency. Domain name belongs to the legal prosecution and everything like that. The domain of that extent that you just mentioned, 123.art, abc.art, without dollar or negative. So that unfortunately won't work, but we are in tight communication with other TLDs and with the ENS reps to see if there's even solution for that, because obviously there is, as I said, it's a quite big and difficult legal structure around it. So
Yes, thank you. I think that was a great question to kind of put everything in perspective. And I think all these questions are going to be good for you guys at the .art protocol team for that for your approach where you want to really educate moving forward. And I'll be sure to send you any more questions we get from the community so that you can include in your agenda to educate before your actual mint. So we learned today that your mint will be most likely end of year or early next year. So we're all going to be very excited. I'm going to be minting a few names myself, and believe it or not, I might like look for some DNS.art names just to have one of those as well, and something that aligns with me and my social identity. So
That's true. We saw this big use case with people just minting .art for their personal brand and using that because it's not meant to be traded. So that's a perfect use case for your personal name and so on. But yeah, obviously, we learned a lot from the ENS community as we started a couple of weeks ago. As you said, we're both pretty early, but it's an amazing community. And I spoke to people on the morning show and I had a couple of discussions in private chats with people and peers. And it's one of the best communities, and they have such a distinguished look at what they do and why they're in this space. And I love that, and we're learning a lot, and we fitting that back to our education materials and trying to align and speak on the human language, because sometimes it's getting too technical.
absolutely, yes, the ENS community has proven itself, and it's such a pleasure to be serving them. That's what ENS Academy was born, just because I think there needs to be more education and a platform to feature people, builders like you and others. So, with that, I want to give this space an end. I think in 3 minutes we reach our time. If there's any more questions, please request now. And if there isn't any other questions, I'll just give you the last minute to kind of say any last words, OX Craft.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think that we had a very great conversation. We unpacked a lot, and our doors are open for anybody who have more questions. You can reach out to Twitter inbox, and it's open for everybody who have questions. And yeah, we will start slowly. So we need to do a lot of work educating people, and we've been in communication with the current CEO of executive director of ENS, Corey, and he started just 11 months ago as the CEO of the company. He wasn't there from the very beginning, but you can look at his under his belt. He have great angel investor experience. He's bootstrapping companies. He seems like he have a great skin in the game. And I understand what he's doing with the ENS community. I think we're in the great hands, because we're betting on that. We work on ENS, and we want to know that it's in the great leadership, and it's a great leadership there. So our goal is to just collaborate with the ENS and just prepare all the educational material, because they understand also that there was a little bit of a crunch explaining people how they can work with TLDs, but the goal was there from the very beginning. So now it's just get to the point when it start making more sense. So glad to be here. Hope we can do it some other time when there will be more people, excited about our mint. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there will be more people. The more education and the more material you put out there. I want to invite you to use our forum. So we have a community forum as ENS Academy for ENS, everything ENS. So you can actually post on there any content that you and have discussions. It's a typical forum that you could see in like the Web2 world, but we wanted one for the ENS community. So I'll create an account for you. I'll DM you with the details, and then you can use it to post any updates about your project. So thank you so much for joining us today, OX Craft. It was an honor. I know you are a pioneer in this space, and I'm very excited that we were able to host you, and would love to maybe have a host a space before the mint to kind of hype it up and introduce the community to more details about the mint itself.
That sounds like a plan. Thanks a lot for having us today, having me today, and thank you for everybody who were listening. It was a pleasure to get through your questions and share with you some of our news and what we do. Thank you, everybody, and I hope to see you at some other spaces. And I wish everybody have a great rest of the day.
Perfect, thank you. And before we close up, I'm going to announce our next space, guys. Please join us next week. We have Master.eth introducing his red letter project. So Master.eth next week, I think it will be on Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'll send out the tweet by end of day today. He's finally going to tell us what that project is about. And please come, bring your questions, and support us. Support ENS Academy. Retweet this space right here because I think more people need to know about the Dot Art project. Really, it's so exciting, and I think there's not enough exposure yet.
Thank you. And guys, make sure you tune in for the Master.eth because that's the guy have a skin in the game. We have a couple of private conversations. He is a great developer. I think he has something cooking up there. I would be tuning in as well to hear that.
Sounds good. Thank you. And it's again, it was an honor. And have a wonderful rest of the day, guys.
The recording will be available shortly, as I understood.
Yeah, I'm gonna upload it to iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You got it. Thank you. Bye-bye.